All right, my friends, welcome to episode 192 of Prof and Dev Play Games. My name is Larry. I am at Prof Plays Games on Twitter, and over there is Anthony the Dev at Summerspeak on Twitter. And this is the only podcast where we will dive into games, dive into Game of Thrones, give away Humble Bundle codes, and just be awesome.
Try to be.
By the way,
try to be.
Yeah, try to be awesome. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. It's been a fun weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Got
I agree.
Amazing ramen yesterday. Got to hang out with my wife, so that was fun.
Yeah, I saw she posted something on Instagram about
that ramen
your
is
ramen
so,
trip.
I mean, it's the place I took you when you were up here.
Yeah, it was really good.
And we were just like, we were out and about, and we're like, where do we want to go? And we're like, yeah, let's do ramen. It's our go-to all the time. We love good ramen.
Yeah.
And I was still having congestion, so I got like the spiciest miso ramen I could, and just
nice.
burn it all, my sinuses all out. It was great.
Yep.
Felt so good.
That's a good cure.
And then today took my kids to see Detective Pikachu.
Thumbs up, thumbs down on that
Thumbs
movie.
up.
Okay, I want to see
it's a fun movie. I mean, for adults, it's not it's not bad for adults. I was entertained the entire time. It has some twists that you probably can see coming. But my kids loved it, and it's just bizarre seeing that this movie even exists.
Right.
Because it's not like, oh, what's a Pokemon type thing. No, this is a Pokemon movie. Just you're in it. Crazy Pokeballs, crazy Pokemon doing all sorts of things, battles. Canonically, the card game exists, if this movie is canon, exists in the Pokemon universe.
Okay. So
the actual Pokemon card game, they show the cards.
Uh-huh.
In an offside thing. And I'm just like, okay, so if canon-wise, in the Pokemon universe, the Pokemon card game exists.
Mm-hmm.
It's bizarre. It's a bizarre movie that is generally a ton of fun. Has a lot of humor that aimed at the kids, but you can totally get aimed at adults too. That right. Those great innuendo jokes that kids are never
Ryan Reynolds good in the movie?
Yeah, I thought he was great.
I've heard really good things about the game. I've never played a Pokemon game, but I've heard that that's a good kind of offshoot game to jump in on.
I figure that I've heard that the movie follows the story, so at this point I'm like, well, I don't need to play the game.
Right.
But yeah, I think it was enjoyable. I just got out of it and I was like, I just don't understand how this movie ever got made. And it is by far the best video game movie I've ever seen.
Wow.
Which is hard to say with Pokemon because it's multi-franchise already. Like, there's tons of animated Pokemon movies and manga and game. Like, it was designed to be. Yeah. Hollywood did not destroy this movie, is the thing. It feels true to Pokemon.
I think of like Assassin's Creed, which I took my father-in-law to go see, and I don't know why I did that. It was awful. Yeah. It was just bad. And every video game movie I've ever seen, going all the way back to Mario Brothers and Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat, they're just always bad. Yeah. I heard that this one was good, so it's good to hear that you're reporting the same thing.
It is. It's good, and like I said, it doesn't feel like the Hollywood machine crushed the essence of it.
Right.
Like, it's a weird... Pokemon is a kind of a weird franchise with very weird characters. And they're all here. And it's kind of crazy and insane. So...
Awesome. Well, I'm hoping
thumbs up.
To get some
go
time.
See it. It's enjoyable.
I'm still carving out time to go see Endgame with my father-in-law as soon as I finish Infinity War, which I still have 1 hour left.
You have to go to Endgame in the theater because you'll never finish it if you tried to watch it at home.
I know. And I want to take my father-in-law to go see it, so I got to finish it, but it's so much to do and watch.
Yeah.
School is almost done, so I think when school's done, I'll be able to finish that last hour. So this week, we're going to talk about Mario Maker 2, which had a direct.
It did.
Like kind of a stealth direct. And then we're going to kind of move into like the democratization of game making, kind of getting the tools into people's hands to kind of make things, even if they don't really know how to code, and kind of what the impact that has on the industry or just people's enjoyment of video games in general. And then we're going to move into season 8, episode 6 of Game of Thrones. Spoiler cast, we both just watched it. And, in the interest of full disclosure, I had an entire bottle of wine while I was watching that episode. So this is me podcasting after a whole bottle of wine. So before we get into all of that, I'm going to give away a code. It's for Zombie Army Trilogy on Steam. And it's I2NK5 V3MQ3 2CVZE. So please enjoy that. Redeem. Let us know if you check that game out. And then we're going to jump right into the Mario Maker 2 Direct. Did you watch it?
I did.
What did you think?
It is the ultimate version of Mario Maker. Like, that's what I came away. I was like, oh, you're doing to Mario Maker what you did to Smash Brothers Ultimate.
Right, exactly.
Put all the stuff in it. Just everything. This is the definitive edition of this game.
Right. It adds so much. This is not just a port of Mario Maker. They really added... There's just so many things. What do I have here? Let me see if I can pull up the... there we go. Slopes, obviously, they talked about it before. The Angry Sun, which is cool. Snake blocks, on-off switches, which I think of everything, the on-off switch they added is just going to make... it just blows this game wide open because there's so many creative things you can do with an on-off switch to make just different puzzles and like making levels that aren't even really Mario levels. I feel like just a lot of puzzle things you could do with the on-off switch.
I'm looking through swinging claws, water level stuff, custom scrolling.
Yeah. Like you can go up, down, all the way around.
Yeah. Stopping scrolling, like,
which is nice because in the past when you're making levels, you kind of had to jimmy the level so that the person playing couldn't see beyond where you wanted them to see, but now you can actually like hide things by messing with the scrolling. One
that stood out to me was clear in conditions. So it's not just reach the goal, like grab a bunch of coins before hitting the goal. Like just like, like you said, it's less about making... You'll see people making things that are more puzzle-ish levels.
Exactly.
That is more... You won't... Of course, you'll still have the super hard levels that people want to make. But you're going to have levels that are truly just like mind-bending puzzle levels. That may not have a bunch of the dexterity aspects to them.
Well, that's what makes me so excited about getting this game in my hands, because there's the straight Mario level. There's like a story mode that talked about, and it's just like straight Nintendo-made Mario levels that kind of teach you the things that you can kind of do with this game. But also, beyond just like fun Mario stuff, you get this crazy shit you couldn't even think of. Just getting this game into the hands of, like, was it 35 million Switch owners at this point? The things that they'll be able to make is just endless. And I know, like, I love this game on the Wii U. I like making things, I like playing things, but with 13 million people at the most, it didn't have the legs that I think this is going to have. And one thing that I thought was really interesting in this Direct, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the dry bones shell, I don't think I've ever seen that. Have you?
I don't remember it from anything specifically.
I don't either. So basically, he can jump into a dry bone shell and just become immune to lava and just kind of like bounce all around lava. Which I feel like that mechanic alone could create a lot of really interesting levels.
Yeah.
And that's just one out of many, many mechanics in this game. But I think I agree with you that the clear mechanics thing is going to be probably the most interesting to me, where it's not just getting thin and touching a flagpole, but it's like, find all the hidden, 10 coins, or, I don't know, kill all the Goombas or whatever it is.
Yeah. It feels remarkably full-featured.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm hoping, I don't know if I caught it or not, or maybe it doesn't exist yet, or maybe they're going to say it later, but is there a way to make like an overworld map?
I thought I saw something. I don't know if they mentioned it in here, but I thought I saw something a bit ago that was like you could tie levels together.
That would be nice, because I would like for people to kind of just create games, like create the whole interconnected levels that come together in a package. I guess with this, I'm imagining what we're going to see is, for some reason, people are going to do this, maybe because it's easier to do to start off your Mario Maker career with, but basically reinventing Mario Brothers, Super Mario Brothers 3, and Super Mario World. Just basically like beat for beat those games.
From what I can see is like no... I thought I heard about it, but I guess I'm wrong. Like most of the stuff saying that no, they haven't announced anything to do with Overworld or anything like that.
I can still see them saying that at E3. Like this is a big blowout to kind of get a lot of the details out before E3, but I can still see them announcing that at E3 because it's something that people really have wanted since 1 that hasn't appeared yet, and it just seems like a really like the things they announced are not obvious things. I think they're great, but some of the things I didn't even know to ask for, and I think they're still great. So I think this thing that people have been asking for since Mario Maker might be coming for E3. That plus, I don't know if they're going to announce another style, but if you look at the way that the like the different styles are laid out, it's basically like Mario 1, Mario 3, Super Mario World, and I think New Super Mario Brothers. And then below it says like new or different styles, and it's plural, and then it's empty except for one tile, which is basically 3D.
You have to believe that they're going to be, again, if this is like the definitive Mario Maker, they're going to be doing updates for this for a while.
I hope so. And I, looking at like something like Mario Tennis Aces that has just continually updated with characters, I want to think that they're going to do that. But then I look at a game like Mario Party, which has had no updates at all, and it really should have. I don't know. I assume they're going to give updates. We'll see.
Yeah, it's hard to say, actually. In that,
I don't know,
but
where would they go? What updates? What other styles could they
that's the thing. Could overworld stuff be an update? Like that would be a feature that could come later.
Right.
The styles is definitely one that you could theoretically, especially because they have that additional styles section. It makes sense that they would add more there. And then I'm just not insanely familiar with all the Mario mechanics, but I'm sure there's more they could add.
Like imagine like a 2D Mario Galaxy.
Yeah.
Or like in that style, I think there's a lot that you could do there. Like they basically they have turned 3D world into a 2D.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot you could do with Mario Galaxy. I've never played Sunshine, but maybe Sunshine mechanics. People keep talking about Mario 2, Mario Brothers 2, but I don't know. That's like a totally different skill set, like pulling up the turnips or whatever and throwing them in.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe.
I mean, there's a reason why they don't have that stuff in here completely. It's such a departure from the core mechanic, which makes sense because wasn't a Mario game. But
right. Yeah, it was a Doki Doki Panic, I think.
It's so good, though. I love that game. But
I love it too. I really do.
But it's very not like any of the other ones.
Right, because they were like, Lost Levels is too hard for the US, so let's give them this game instead. There's new course themes. You can play desert levels, snow levels, forest levels, sky levels, and then they have this moon thing.
Day-night, day-night stuff.
Yeah. Can you tell us about that? Because I don't know if I caught that completely.
I didn't completely either, but I do understand that it's like, it sounded like different layouts, really. Slightly. Like it switches the backgrounds and changes everything so you can have desert day, desert night. But if I was
seeing it, has like winds and things like that.
Yeah, right. It has it's like a switch you can hit or trigger or hit.
That's what I didn't get. Like you just hit the moon and then it turns it.
Yeah, you have to touch a moon or a sun depending on which way you want it to go.
Mm-hmm.
And it changes the level slightly. I don't know if it changes enemies.
But I think some of it changes how they behave. Like in the night level it says here the ground level. I guess it's just a normal outside level. When it's nighttime, the Goombas are floating. Like the gravity is a little weird underground as well.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. It sounds like it's, again, even crazier levels.
Right.
That you're going to want to switch back and forth between day and night to collect the right things, or like you said, the one that changes gravity. You could create so many crazy levels doing that, where you need to swap to different gravities to pick up different coins to beat the level.
It's really nice to see different mechanics in this game. Like there's in the night level, the mushrooms turn into rotten mushrooms that will basically kill you, and then the water turns into poison. It's insane. I'm so excited for this game. Like the lineup for the Switch this year, even though I feel like it's not a ton of games that's exciting to me, but it's kind of like the first year where it was Mario Odyssey and Breath of the Wild, and everything else was good too, but that was enough to make that year just fucking insane. And then we've got this game coming out on the 28th of June, and then Fire Emblem coming out basically the 28th or 26th or whatever of July. It's just like two heavy hitters for me right in the middle of the summer.
Yep. And then heavy hitter for everyone else with Pokemon in the fall.
Right. Not so much up my alley, but that's going to dwarf everything that I like,
Yeah. And the Switch just Nintendo announced this week, or it came out, that they are the highest selling console of this generation in Japan.
In Japan, yeah.
Yeah, so the Switch has sold more than PS4s.
Yeah, they've with 8 million or so. So I guess not a ton of consoles. It's like 10% of the market is in Japan, but
yeah,
PS4 has been out since 2014, and now the Switch has been out since 16 or 17. I can't remember. It's 17.
17.
And they've already outsold the PS4.
Yeah, and that doesn't surprise me. The Switch is definitely way more up the alley of that market.
Yeah, the mobile.
Yeah, just
aspect.
Wanting it. Yeah, portable, take it places.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I mean, I think this does lead into our other topic, though, on the democratization of games.
Yeah, kind of putting tools into people's hands who can't make games, like thinking about this game, Wargroove, other games that have like game making mechanics in them. It allows people to jump into the game, or even Dreams on PS4.
Yeah, people have made some crazy stuff with Dreams. It's insane.
I have I bought that demo, or not demo. I bought the early access, and just jumping in and playing these kind of short experiences and thinking, how the fuck did you create this in Dreams? Like I'm trying to make things in Dreams, and I still don't get it. But putting game engines, quote unquote, into people's hands and kind of giving them a tile set or whatever to create games, like thinking about Mario specifically, my brother and I for years would make Mario levels. We would draw them out by hand. We use grids and make them. And then one time we sent them to Nintendo, like, check out our levels. You should maybe make this. It was terrible. And they did not, but obviously. But the idea that now we can make that, like if I had the time, I could just sit and make a Mario level and upload it. It really kind of opens the door for more people to jump into game making in a way. And for me specifically, allows me in the door and makes me realize, shit, making games, like level design is super hard. Like,
yes,
to make a good level is beyond my capabilities.
Yeah, I will actually say making games is hard. Making games is very hard.
Yeah.
You hear about all the bad reasons making games is hard, usually through press.
like
crunch and bad management and mismanaged funds. Like I just watched the No Clip thing on Telltale that came out last week, and you're just like, these are all the wrong reasons games are hard to make. Like, if you were just given, if none of that stuff existed, making a game is actually just a hard thing to do.
Right.
It, just like making a movie, writing a book, anything like that, it's hard to create quality content. Like, I can crap out tons of stuff. Doesn't mean it's quality or anybody else wants to play it. So it takes a lot of work from a lot of people to get a game from concept through execution to people's hands.
Well, I think we saw that a lot with Mario Maker 1, where the most popular thing, which was so annoying, was basically just the auto play levels where you would like hit like a bouncy block or whatever, and it would just like shoot Mario through the level, and it would just do it itself.
Yep.
And those permeated the kind of the curated lists of games, which is nice about Mario Maker 2, where it kind of gives you like a template for to say like, do you want that kind of level, or do you want an easy level, or hard level, or whatever. Like just more ways to surface good games.
Yeah.
But yeah, in general, I feel like when you make it easier for people to make games, people who don't have experience making games can jump in and do it.
And just try, fail, rinse, repeat, and you'll get better at it. It's a skill you work on, and you get better.
Right, and I feel like that process is usually in the creative arts private. Like you iterate in private and then finally put something out. But I think the iteration in this kind of game, or Dreams or whatever else, the iteration is public, and it kind of just feels like it's a sea of like not great things, but eventually you'll find a diamond in the rough or whatever.
Diamond in the rough, or the thing that isn't great when you put it out, you get feedback on it, you get data. And that was one thing with games that is huge, is that probably the best games I've ever made and worked on or played tended to have a ton of playtesting early on.
Right.
Like, it's not, you don't hold them close to the chest thinking you're going to make the best thing you could ever make, and you shouldn't show anyone until it's done. No, show it as soon as you possibly can to other people. Start getting feedback. Like, iterate constantly. Like, that is part of the development process. If you can get into it, you can constantly iterate, you will make a better game in the end.
Well, I feel like that's absolutely the case with like writing stories as well, or novels, like getting people in to like give you feedback on your writing. Like they will catch things you didn't catch, and then you can polish those things up, and then it just makes the story better for everybody.
It's true.
And, anything creative.
And one of the great things that like Mario Maker does, and where I've seen the biggest shift in this like democratization of game, like making just content, is because distribution is there now.
Right.
I could go in and I remember back when I was younger, I remember what the game was. I think it was called Abuse. It was a side scroller from the mid 90s. Maybe it was high school. And it shipped with a level editor. And I level edited with Doom and stuff like that as well. Just for fun. They're not great, but there was no consistent way to distribute it. Like if I wanted to trade a level with someone, I'd have to go find, this is early internet too. Probably a bulletin board somewhere, and hopefully have some hosting where I could just upload something or put something somewhere. The fact that they're now making it easy to give your content to other people to try and make it easy for people to find that content has changed, pun intended, the game. So I think things like Mario Maker are great with the level designer in Smash like that. Right. It's fantastic. Even though time to dick is like super low. That is a technical metric in the game industry. So
it should be, because that's absolutely the first thing. Why aren't we seeing more vaginas? Why is it all dicks?
Actually, let's be honest. You know the answer to that.
I do. I don't need you to answer that question. I know the answer. But it's nice because you get, tons of different ideas and perspectives out there, and things that you might not have seen, but you really get to sift through a lot of stuff to get there.
You do. Curation is a big deal. And it's always been a big deal. And I think it's been, as I hate to say it, like kind of the Steam Workshop stuff for the longest time has actually gotten pretty good. Like if you go into a game that has Workshop and you show me the top like downloaded rated stuff, it's almost for every game consistently the stuff that you want. Like the community there tends to surface the things that are great for, like, if you go to Skyrim and say, I want to see Skyrim Workshop, like, what should I download? What mods? And it's like, this one, it's like quality of life stuff. It's, high resolution textures. Any of like the nudity stuff is pushed way down. Right. And I'm hoping eventually we get better curation on some of these like time to dick levels, things like that gets better. But I think one of the big things is this stuff is very new to consoles. Like, I can't remember, was there a lot of trading of levels even in previous generation? Like,
I mean, previous generations, that count as Wii U?
Yeah, I mean, Mario Maker and Wii U.
Right.
But I was trying to think
great, but it was there.
It was there, not great. I'm trying to think of anything in 360 and PS3 that did anything.
Little Big Planet.
Yeah, yep, they started there. So it's just, I feel like it started later with consoles.
Right.
And they're still working through a lot of the same problems.
Yeah, it really just comes down to the surfacing of the rating system or whatever. And I feel like Mario Maker 2 is making strides to make that, address the complaints from Mario Maker 1. And, I'm sure they won't get all the way, but...
Nope. It's all about iteration. Even if they don't get all the way this time, then hopefully they learn a lot from it, and whatever next creation tool that they make, they get farther. Which would, that's the whole point. I don't expect them to get it perfect each time, especially in this stuff, because it deals a lot with unexpected user behavior. Like, this was what psychologists would study, is how people interact with this. And it's sometimes very hard to predict how people are going to interact with software like this. So it's incredibly fun to watch people use it, though.
Well, it's the same thing for me on a smaller scale in the classroom, where I design like a great lesson, like tons of activities to like move toward like whatever academic goal I have for the class. And then like when I deploy it in the class, within the first 5 minutes, it goes in a direction I didn't know. And if I'm not able to improv on the spot and kind of move to where the learners are going or what they need, it'll fall apart.
Sounds like a D&D game.
Well, yeah, that too. It really does. In some ways, when I think about moving through my classroom, I kind of reflect on what Critical Role does, or improv stories. I think my greatest strength as a teacher is my ability to come in with a lesson plan that's just totally laid out, and then throw away 50% of it and just on the spot move forward where the students are. And I feel like sticking to a rigid, like, this is what I wanted, this is how I wanted you to react, like, that fails every time. And I can see the same thing with games, especially the thing like this. Like, we didn't want you to do that, so you can't do that. But I think this type of game is allowing just a huge open door for people to come in and kind of do whatever the fuck they want.
It's true.
And I really can't wait. There's no Miiverse anymore to share some of that stuff, but just, whatever sharing. I don't know if they laid out some sort of sharing for this game, or if it's just through YouTube or whatever. But I feel like being an observer is going to be just as fun as being a player in this game.
Yeah, I agree.
And the same thing with Dreams, to be honest, in any of these things. Like, it's fun to watch and see the community build up around it, and just be like, what the fuck?
And the great thing for me is that, some kid is going to pick up these games and make something, and it might be crappy and whatever, but it will make them want to make more.
That's true. And
that's pretty incredible, because until you actually do it, it's always this mystical thing of like, how do you make it? What goes into it? When you do it, it kind of, you look behind the curtain and are like, okay, even if it fails, I can do this. And let's see, another 10, 15 years, how many new game devs come out of this? And they started because they picked up Mario Maker or Mario Maker 2.
Right, because you think about when we were kids playing video games, you can speak this more than I can say right here, but people playing games and saying, this is something that I want to make myself, and then realizing, okay, well, I've got to learn coding and put that all together, and kind of this abstract language plus art plus whatever else, putting it all together, versus now some kids can look at this and say, I can just drag tiles around the screen.
Yep. And even if they do feel like, oh, I have to go deeper, they've dipped their toe in it. They at least start understanding the concepts of what you have to put together, string together to make a game. And
right.
Some people will go to the level design area. Some people might be like, oh, why doesn't it have this feature? How would you go about adding a feature like that? And then I go to coding, to start trying to understand how games are made. People might be invested in the art and the styles and want to do, focus on digital art and animation. Like, it will just spark other people to keep getting into this industry or to make things on their own.
Right.
So yeah, I'm very happy with everything that this is doing for the industry, and I'm really excited that Nintendo is making a sequel, because they didn't need to, really.
They could have just ported it, right?
They could have ported it. They could have never done anything with it again.
Yeah.
Like, it's not that it sold poorly or anything, but Nintendo has so many projects and so many things they do. It could have just been another thing that they just let go away. But they are really trying to do something, clearly want to make this something special and are invested in making it stick.
And I feel like this is like the best entry point for Nintendo to create like a maker game, because I feel like the language is really easily understood.
Yep.
And in terms of making a level, I feel like for a novice is pretty straightforward, as opposed to, I think people are kind of calling for like, Legend of Zelda Maker to be next. And I feel like the language for that is a little more complex, although I would love to see it. Or a Metroid Maker, I think, is even more complex.
Yeah.
Like that requires a level of level design that I think, I don't know if this is fair or not to say, but it kind of escapes most just gamers who are playing. And I don't know if that would be
It's
fun.
easier, I will say, it's easier to make a self-contained Mario level than is whenever you go to, like, when you talk about a Zelda or a Metroid. Those are big connected worlds.
Exactly.
So you can't just think about one level. You have to think about how it interconnects with everything else.
Right, like making a dungeon in Zelda, or making, Zevis or whatever in Metroid. There are so many interconnected layers that Mario doesn't have.
You could theoretically just do a dungeon Zelda. That's it.
Yep.
You're just doing a dungeon, but that is still a really huge undertaking compared to a single level of Mario. I think a single level Mario is a great chunk that most people can wrap their head around. And I think that's the most important part to any of this.
Yeah, and I feel like it's a IP that covers just a broad swath of people who most people have played Mario. The amount of people who have played Zelda or played Metroid, like, it just precipitously drops.
Yes.
So yeah, I think it's easy to get into, and I cannot wait to play people's shitty levels and my own levels. What is that? Just over a month away.
Yeah.
I have mine pre-ordered on Amazon, so looking forward to it. Anything else about that topic?
No, I think I'm good.
All right, let's move into our spoiler cast for Game of Thrones then. Oh, no. Let's move first into what we've been playing. I forgot about that. Sorry, so excited about Game of Thrones.
I only played one thing.
What'd you play?
I had some time. I played some Assassin's Creed Odyssey. I started getting back. I did everything and downloaded it, and then I started playing First Blade stuff.
Oh, nice. What'd you think?
Good so far. The game is just... I can't stay focused. Because even the First Blade stuff, they're like, oh, here's the main First Blade. And I'm like, but there's all these other things for me to do here.
Yep.
So I'm going to do all those too. So and they give me another cult to hunt. So,
right.
It's like a mini cult. So now I'm obsessing over that.
But at least that's part of the DLC.
Yes. But man, God, that game is so gorgeous and easy to get back in, just drop back into.
I cannot get away from it. Like what you said last week was basically, if it brings you joy, keep doing it. And this week, that's what I played for the most part. And I'm trying to get to the Elysium DLC or finish the First Blade DLC, and everything kind of blends together. So I basically, whatever's in front of me that looks interesting, I just jump onto it. So there was a quest that was ended up being a Lost Tales of Greece quest, was about Barnabas. It was called like A Friend to Die For or something like that, where I'm trying to help him find his wife.
Okay.
Which I thought was part of DLC, which it's not. I guess it is DLC. It's a free DLC. But instead of making progress on those stories, I decided to do the side quest, and it's just super good. It really is like getting me to know more about Barnabas and his backstory, and it's just something that maybe you'd never, happen into. And there was another quest I was doing trophy hunting, because we were having that, my quixotic quest to beat you to the platinum, which was stupid.
Oh, right, because I got my platinum in it as well. That happened this week.
The next day or 2 days later?
2 days later, I just put it in, and then I was like, I had a list of all the underwater locations, and it was a map with a list, and I just kind of scratched off all the ones that I'd already done.
Right.
And I had done about half of them, at least from my list. I'd actually done more than half of them. I just didn't mark a few off. So I popped the trophy and completely not expecting to. Because on my list, I still had 3 more that I was trying to go find.
Right.
But then I looked closer and I had already got them all. So that was easy.
So I had looking at my trophy list, and I was basically just going from the trophy that most people had done to the least or the most rare, basically. And one was complete 20 side quests on Pefka and 2 other islands or whatever. So I was like, okay, I've been around these islands a lot. I probably only have a couple more quests to do. So I jumped over there and just grabbed whatever was closest to me. And it was basically this whole side quest chain. It was the dagger, trying to find this little hidden group called the Dagger and take them out, which kind of echoed the cultists a little bit, just a little more on a micro level. And there was some funny fucking shit. The writing was really good. This side quest that you would never stumble across otherwise. Maybe a lot of people playing the game never saw. I think you had mentioned you don't remember.
I don't know what happened. What is the general?
Basically, there's a guy called the Kingfisher who's the main bad guy who's a slave. I can't remember not Alcibiades.
That sounds familiar.
Asclepios, maybe. But his brother is basically the Kingfisher, and he's the slave basically wants you to figure out who's heading this dagger, and hopefully it's not his brother, and you realize it is his brother and tell him.
Right.
So he kind of runs away.
Yep.
And goes to try to help his brother, and his brother just kicks him off a cliff.
Yep.
And dies.
I remember that one.
Yeah, it was super a main quest for another game would have been really satisfying. This is just some stupid side quest. So when I beat that, I popped the trophy for the 20 quest or whatever in that area. Now I'm moving on to Xenia's treasure hunt, basically.
Right.
But as I was going to Xenia's treasure hunt, I happened across this Barnabas side quest, and I'm just getting into that. And I keep going into this game. I think the same thing as you, like trying to like focus on, do the side or do the DLC or whatever. And I just keep getting sidetracked because it's just great. It feels like, I think of any game I've ever played, it feels like an old glove to put on. Even more than like The Witcher 3. Like this just feels comfortable and fun. And I've been playing it since October and I can't stop.
It's really good.
Yeah.
Insane amount of content, insane amount of game there, and a really fun game, and generally well written.
Yeah.
So
even the side quests are great.
Yeah.
Other thing I played this week was thanks to the fucking weird, crazy Epic sale that's going on, which we can talk about that a little bit, but basically like Hades by Supergiant Games. It's a $20 game to get into early access, and they're going to up the price to like $25 sooner eventually. But there's this sale going on where any game that's $14.99 or above, whether on sale or not, Epic Games gives you another $10 off.
Yep.
So basically, Hades is $20 right now, and with the $10 off, it's $10. So I bought it, and then the new Mike Bithell John Wick game, Hex.
Right.
John Wick Hex, I think, is coming out next month, maybe. It's like $20, and then it's on sale for $17 with a pre-order bonus, basically, because it's not out yet. But then with the $10 off, it's $8.
Yep.
So I bought that too because I was interested in that game. I don't know what the fuck is going on there, but I bought those two games, and I popped in Hades for half an hour, and it's a roguelike, basically, fun roguelike with a lot of different. The story is really good, I think. In terms of like you're trying to get out the underworld and like all these gods are trying to help you and giving you skills. Like the mechanic is, or the framing device is that the gods are like Zeus comes in or Athena or whatever and gives you a choice of 3 skills to like help you get out of the underworld every time you die or whatever. So sucks playing as a keyboard and mouse. I should have plugged in my controller, but overall I played half an hour. It was good. But that's everything I played this week.
Yeah, I should pick up Hades on that sale.
You should, because I think it's a game that you want to play anyways. You like Supergiant games.
Yeah, I do.
It's a fair bit better than Pyre, and it feels great. It reminded me a lot of Dead Cells in terms of the fun roguelike part.
I've been curious there, and the Epic sale is a little bit of like, it's cool that it's coming out, and the way it works is that the devs are still getting the full price.
Right.
Epic's just spotting the $10 to you per thing. Like, it's pretty insane, really.
It's really insane.
Yay, Fortnite money.
I know they're spending. They're helping, I guess, the devs and the gamers. Although I think some gamers are pissed at for exclusivity stuff. But the sale. I mean, there are games that you can get cheaper elsewhere, but there are games like this, like Hades, you can't get anywhere else, or pre-order games that just.
Yep. Although some devs pulled their games off.
I saw that
while the sale was going on because they didn't even with them still making the full amount, which I get. It's more of a marketing piece to them than a worrying about the money.
It's kind of undervaluing their games.
Exactly. And I would say that it's a weird thing where it was an opt out, not an opt in for if you wanted to be part of the sale.
Right. Which seems like a bad move.
It's the wrong way to go. They should have just let everyone know, hey, we're going to run the sale. Let us know if you want in.
Right.
And most people probably would want in, but I'm sure that there's a few that do not want to go that way right now.
Yeah, and the weird PR of like, oh, this company pulled their game from the sale. Like, that's probably not what they needed so much.
Yeah. But, I'll pick up a few things there. I really want to play Hades when I have some time to play it.
Yeah.
But
it's good. You should definitely grab it. I think the sale goes through the 13th of June, so you have time.
Yeah.
But I think it's worth it obviously for $10.
Yeah.
But it felt good. So that's what I've been playing. That's what you've been playing, I guess.
Yeah.
So we can move now into spoilers. So we're going to end this episode for folks who don't want to hear spoilers for episode 6 of season 8, the finale of the series for Game of Thrones. He's at SummerSpeak. I'm at Prof Plays Games. This was episode 192, and we will give you a chance here to abandon ship because we're going to talk about the finale of Game of Thrones now, which is something
get out of here if you don't want to hear this.
I've been looking forward to this since I started reading the books in 2000.
Yeah.
And, you know, this season, even last season, there's a lot of shit that has sucked. But I, except for a couple small things in this episode, fucking loved it. Really, really liked the ending. I feel like it was right. It felt really right.
As the first thing I said to you when we got on, it felt like Martin's ending. Like, it got back to that feeling again of, oh, right. This is clearly they're going off the notes of Martin on this.
Right. Like almost like a detailed outline. Like here's some of the smaller pieces that build up to this ending. As opposed to just here's the main plot point. Like last season or last episode felt like here Dany's gonna turn and be crazy. Yeah. Not crazy, but like turn and be like the mad queen.
Be a tyrant.
Be a tyrant, exactly.
Yeah,
right.
she's that she's not going to be showing really that much mercy.
Right. And I swear to God, like there was a couple times where I ran to my wife because she was like super interested in my reaction to this episode because she knows like since we first met. Like I've talked about Game of Thrones. Like I love the series. I love the books. It is such a big part of me and my like fandom. There's no IP. There's nothing I love more than Game of Thrones. And it's, you know, she wanted to see how I reacted to it. And I ran to her a couple times. She asked me before the episode, she said, what will it take for this episode to be good for you to like be happy about it? And I said, just one moment where there's a character who there's some sort of emotional moment that feels earned. And with Tyrion discovering Jaime and Cersei at the beginning, that was it. I was bawling. And it was the first time I cried out of like maybe 7 times during this episode. And I just went to her and I was like, that's it. It worked. If the rest of the episode sucks, I just wanted to cry. I wanted to like, you know, the ending of this huge journey. I wanted it to feel emotional, and it a lot of time it did. There was some weird shit, but for the most part, it felt good as opposed to most of the rest of the season, even last season, not so much. Yeah.
It felt right. That part where you could really feel Tyrion's pain with him being the last of his family. And I don't even think it was Cersei was probably crying over. But Jaime, definitely Jaime. Yep. Like he was hoping that he got out so much and didn't. And that part, trying to think of other parts that really got to me. Brienne writing about Jaime.
Oh my God.
That was so good.
So good. Like as soon as I saw her sitting there with the book, I was like, oh shit, she's going to fucking finish Jaime's story. And it just wrecked me.
Yeah, like, and she did.
I didn't like when Jaime left and the whole Brienne thing.
It was only because it was quick.
Right.
I'm actually okay. Like, I don't like it overall. Like, as a emotional standpoint, like, damn, I really wish you wouldn't.
Right.
But if it had been given the, like, breathing room to do it, I would have accepted it as, like, yeah, he can't get over Cersei. And he will never get over her. I can accept that as, like, he can redeem himself in so many other ways, but he can't stop himself from that.
Right. For most of the season, and even last season a little bit, I just keep saying, like, my favorite character in literature, which is Tyrion Lannister, is just a fucking moron. In this episode, the writing... Not here. He was back to form. I felt like he was, like... Peter Dinklage had great shit to work with.
Yeah.
And he was magnificent, both in just his acting, but also the things that Tyrion was saying. Like that moment where he's talking to the, you know, the important people of Westeros and basically saying like, it's got to be Bran. Bran's got to sit on the throne. I was like, what the fuck? I was so like not ready for that. And then the more that I thought about it, the more it made sense. Like this is Martin's ending. Like this. Not only is it Martin's ending, but it makes sense for Bran's arc. If he knows everything, if he can see the future and the past, why wouldn't he do X, Y, or Z to make things work out? He did. He's the king. He is moving into the ending that makes sense for him. So everything else makes sense. Otherwise, if it wasn't him and it ended poorly, it would be like, well, he could see everything, so why didn't he do different things to make the ending better? And it was great.
I saw something mentioned there and I had forgot. I mean, the whole series opens with a point of view of, well, not the epilogue, but the actual first chapter is Bran. The prologue to the first book is not Bran.
But the first chapter is.
The first chapter is Bran, correct? If I remember right.
Yeah, I think it is. I think you're right. Let's see here.
Because it'd be very fitting.
And, talking about I think they're doing a lot of symmetry in this season, even though some of it has not been great. But, it ends with, the gate opening up at Castle Black and in the beginning, the Rangers going out and then eventually they're taken over by the Whites. But here it's basically John and Tormund leading a bunch of free folk out. And it was just
to their homes wordless. Where they want to go. Like, I mean, that was such a good ending for John too.
Yeah.
That's exactly what this character would want.
Right.
He's not ruling anybody. He's just doing the best for what's left of the Night's Watch, whatever they are now, and now the free folk. Right. Just trying to make life better for those people past the wall and at the wall.
Yeah, you're right. Chapter 1 is Bran. Yep. That's the first. Oh, it makes so much sense in terms of the symmetry. Like, he's gonna be the last, right?
Yep.
And that's the point of view where they found the dire wolves.
Yep.
Where Bran's watching the beheading,
Yep.
Man, it was the thing that was disorienting for me was the time skip.
Yeah.
And I had been prepared for it. I was listening to a podcast, and there was a spoiler section, and they were like, you should listen to the spoiler section to help you understand the final episode. And I never do that, but I decided to listen for a minute or two just to see what they were talking about. And I literally threw my fucking headphones off when they're like, there's a time skip. I'm like, I don't want to hear this, but I'm actually really glad that I did, because I would have been really confused.
I was confused. I mean, for a few minutes at least, just being like, I don't completely know what's going on here, because the last you see is John looking at the ruins of the throne.
Right.
That was also great. Just burning the throne down.
Absolutely.
Like, just melted.
Yep. Like, you know what? This is the reason why she's dead. This fucking piece of metal. So fuck this thing.
Yep. And now there's a dragon out there somewhere.
Somewhere. Yeah, there's just a free dragon. And I assume he took her east somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, they mentioned that he was last seen headed east. So
right, that's true.
I assume he's Valeria?
Yeah, that's
probably the ruins of Valeria.
That scene was crazy because, the showrunners keep talking about how dumb Jon is, and after hearing Tyrion give his, in the cell, like, Jon, you're the shield that protects the realm. You got to do what's right. Basically kill Dany. And then he goes in there and he's like, what the fuck are you doing, burning everyone? She's like, I want to make good. Let's make good together. And I was like, he's like, yeah, let's do it. And I was like, oh man, he's fucking falling for it. And they make out, they're kissing, and then he stabs her.
Yeah.
And I seriously fucking jaw on the floor. Did not expect that. And maybe that's just me not seeing it. But I thought
I was kind of expecting it as he was asking her questions about like what the future entails.
Right.
And like, what's good? What about good to them or this other people? And her being like, no, it's only what we decide is good.
Right.
And I don't know. This is where I actually do think Kit Harington is a decent actor, because at that point I could just see in his expression just his heartbreaking.
Right.
Like of being like,
yep,
there's no escape from this. She won't back down.
Well, it made me feel sad. Like I just have never liked Dany.
Nope.
And a couple episodes ago, I felt bad for her because like she was all alone in that banquet scene after the victory against the White Walkers. And I was like, oh, maybe she should, rule or whatever. And then she has that heel turn basically the last episode. And I was like, it's just, she's got to go. But just like the angst that he felt doing that, and just like her, just like betrayal, feeling betrayed. And it's just like, when she walks into that, I felt so bad for her because she walks into the Red Keep basically, or whatever, the throne room.
Yeah.
And just like touches the Iron Throne, and it's just like, and she never fucking sits on it.
No, she doesn't.
That was so, I just like, there wasn't just that satisfaction of that. Like we've always said no one can sit on that fucking throne, and no one actually did.
She was inches from it. Inches from having what her dream was.
But the sad thing for me is that she walks in there alone. Like, I feel like, when Robert Baratheon with Ned Stark and everyone else, like, took the throne from the Targaryens, like, they all walk in together. Fucking, what's his fucking name? Jaime's there, fucking sitting on the throne. But it's like it's not a solitary thing. Like, they did it together, and she just walks in alone. It just feels so sad.
Yeah.
But then, man, he fucking my jaw was on the fucking floor, and I ran upstairs to my wife, and I was just like, this happened, this happened, this happened. Like I just needed to fucking share it. Like I went into this episode, first of all, like I need to drink because this is going to be shitty.
Well, yeah, because you have no clue. I was, to use the term that they use for Targaryens, it was a flip of the coin. If this was going to end well, if I was going to be happy tonight or really angry.
Yep.
So drinking was probably a best bet for me.
It made me, it not dulled me so much, but kind of like inured me to like, to be open.
Yeah.
And I was happy about that because I'm fucking happy. Like that weird time skip thing. Like I understand like the device to make this episode work, and I really liked what happened after the time skip. But the other thing that was weird to me was Grey Worm. Like,
yeah.
Jon Snow killed your queen, and you're not like fucking raging. Like you're just kind of like, whatever, we're gonna leave. He's our prisoner. We'll do what we want. But there was no like, he kept wanting justice, and I think they made a good compromise where the justice is Jon Snow is fucking back at the wall. He took
the black.
Took the black again. Which is
so fitting. That is so fitting.
It's, you know, and you said it best. This is Martin's ending, and it was shitty to get here. But the way that it was kind of laid out in this episode was basically them finally getting source material again to land this shit. Yes,
especially the last 25 minutes. Like, as soon as that time skip happens and it's Tyrion talking to, like, choosing a king, what the future of the realm was going to look like, and then what happens to all the Starks, it felt much more cohesive overall, and slower paced again.
Absolutely.
Like, this whole episode was very slow paced, which I appreciated. I was like, oh, thank God. We're going at not, like, breakneck, everyone has to do the craziest thing they possibly can to keep the story moving. It was just like the first chunk of the movie when Tyrion's just walking through the city before he finds Jaime and Cersei and the whole it's just gorgeous shot after gorgeous shot when Jon's walking up the steps to Daenerys, who walks out and the dragon opens its wings behind her.
Right.
Oh God, that shot was so good. This is an amazing looking episode. Absolutely. Like, just stills from this episode could be taken and just and be art on their own.
Right. It's the second episode this season, and actually probably the second episode of the last two seasons that I thought I could immediately want to watch it again.
Yeah.
It was good, and I thought it was going to be terrible. I really did. I was just like, I'm drinking because I'm sad.
Like, how are they going to end this? How can they conceivably, from where they are, can they get to a place that when it's done, I have the actual, like, bittersweet feeling that I was supposed to have. And I did. It is bittersweet. And really, I think they put almost all the bitterness in the last episode.
They did. And I feel like,
because it was a really nihilistic episode.
Yeah. And, you know, that word is Martin's. Like, this is going to be a bittersweet ending. And I feel like this ending was more sweet than I expected. Like, it kind of just like my favorite character is fucking still the Hand. Like, he doesn't want to be the Hand.
He doesn't want to be, but it's great. But and you get Sam's there as his maester. Like all these characters, Braun's there, which is bizarre, but whatever.
That's weird. Like, I think that's
just a show thing. They just put that in there. They just like
Jerome Flynn.
And they're just like, fine, Highgarden needs someone there. Enjoy.
Yeah.
But the rest of them, I'm like, this is great. And then Bran's like, yeah, you guys deal with that stuff. I'm gonna go try to find a dragon.
Right. Which, you know, he's gonna warg and figure it out. But there was something I read earlier that was like, you know, Tywin's advice to Tommen was like, the best ruler listens to his advisors, and like basically it's like Tyrion's ruling. Like, you do it. You do the ruling while I'll go do my warging or whatever.
Yeah. And Davos made it?
Really? I just feel satisfied. I feel fucking satisfied.
Davos made it, and he's like helping rebuild. Like,
he's gonna fix his mistakes.
How'd the Onion Knight survive?
Yeah, how the fuck is Davos alive at the end? You know?
But it fit. That's the whole thing. When I look at it, I'm like, yeah, I could see Martin have him alive at the end.
Well, it's interesting because if it is down to even the characters that he has alive at the end, like, they're the characters that I love the most. Like, Brienne is like my number 2 character after Tyrion. Yeah. And Brienne's there at the end. I love Davos. He's there at the end. I love Sam. He's there at the end. Like,
she's the Kingsguard, right? Or whatever
Yeah, she's the leader of the Kingsguard, right?
She's now, that's what I assumed since she was writing the end of Jaime's story. Right. Was that she was taking the position as the head of the Kingsguard, and Pod is a Kingsguardsman.
Right. At first I was like, is Pod the leader? Like, that doesn't make any sense.
No, I think Brienne is.
But I love that scene with Brienne filling in Jaime's thing and just made me bawl like crazy because that is such a nod to book readers. Because I don't know if that's like such a big thing in the show to know that like the next leader of the Kingsguard, I can't remember what the name of that is, that position is the one that fills in the story from the last leader of the Kingsguard.
Yeah.
And just I fucking just could not stop crying just watching her fill that in. And it was such a fitting end to Jaime's story. And just like watching, like you said, the last 25 minutes, just like beat for beat, this is what Martin's going to do. Even those like small details that D&D have not been filling in are there, and just fucking landed it.
Yep.
For a few weird things, overall just landed it. And I feel sorry for people who are just like invested in Dany and wanting to see Dany rule, and just like
Dany's never going to rule. Even in the books, I can tell you now, it's very clear she was never going to rule. And I think she would, even in the books, would get to the point that she was at here. It's just going to be a much slower process.
But without her, the wheel would not be broken, and the wheel is broken now. Like, Bran can't procreate, so he's not going to have a son to lead.
Yep.
Like,
and they've now Sam got mocked for wanting democracy, but they basically have a not democracy, but not a true monarchy either.
Right.
I don't even know what the hell form. I'm sure this has a name for this form of government. I don't know what it is though.
Oligarchy, maybe.
Maybe it's an oligarchy. Probably. I mean, it's the heads of the houses.
That. Yeah.
Get to choose.
Well, yeah, and like Gendry's there, Arya's there. I don't know what the fuck Arya's there, but I mean, I love her, but you know, the leaders of the houses, Sam's there, fucking Brienne. Oh my god, Edmure Tully is there.
Robin.
Fucking Robin Aaron is there. Like they didn't forget about those characters. They're back.
I do like though, like some of them are like when Davos is like, do I even get an eye? Like he's not even sure of his. He's like, I'm here, but why am I even like?
Right.
I don't.
Why am I here?
I shouldn't have a voice here. And I think Brienne is also similar. She's like,
right. Sure,
I'll say yes, but it doesn't. I don't think I matter in the grand scheme of things.
Right. It makes me excited to reread the series. I'm on book 3 right now, Storm of Swords, and I started rereading it a couple months ago, but I've been buried in Critical Role, so I finally got back to it a couple days ago. I'm probably 10 hours into the Audible. It's like my 5th reread, and just like rereading, you know, listening to it is just like how fucking great this book is. And I started reading also a couple days ago. I started reading Fire and Blood, which is the kind of history book, the Silmarillion kind of Martin's Silmarillion. Came out last November. And I read a review in the wake of kind of people being pissed at this season, saying like, if you're pissed at the season and you love the books, but you haven't read Fire and Blood, like you stop and read it because it's really good. And I'm probably 30 pages into it. I think you and I talked about it when I first picked it up. It's fucking good. It's really good. It's a dry history, but it's just like telling the story of the Targaryens before Robert's Rebellion. And it's Martin. It's good. So I'd recommend it. Especially in the wake of now no more Game of Thrones. Like it's an end of a fucking television era. And
yeah,
you know, something that you and I have been like looking forward to since we started reading book 1 in 2000.
I mean, I'll be honest, like the biggest thing that the show has ever done was give me an answer what the hell happened to Tyrion. I waited a decade to get an answer to what the fuck happened to Tyrion after he got like in a crate and sent east.
Yep.
And it gave me the answer. I'm like, cool. Like the show can be crap. However else, you at least gave me something that I've been wondering for a decade.
I agree because he's like such a part of my life, in terms of how much of a connection I have to him. And after reading Storm of Swords, you know, he's not in Dance of Dragons. You get him, or no, he's not in Feast for Crows. You get him back with Dance of Dragons, and you're like, what the fuck is this? This is the ending for him, and I'm looking forward to when George finally finishes the fucking novels, if he ever does, to like get more nuance and detail. But I am beyond pleased with where he ends up.
I have a hard time seeing how Martin even wraps up all the threads that he has in two books. That's actually the hardest part. I'm like, you say you have 2, but I'm like, I feel like if you try to wrap it up in 2, you're going to have the same problems that this show had. You're just going to have rushing and shortchanging people, and then people are going to change motivations rapidly, and they're not going to get time to breathe because he has so many more threads, or I should say, use the different metaphor, balls in the air that he has to juggle, and I don't see how they get done in 2 books.
And it's the thing that I feel like is what's happened, because there was after Dance of Dragons, there was supposed to be a 5-year time skip. And he did that, and he was like, nope, I'm going to go back and write it.
Oh, you mean Storm of Swords?
Oh, sorry. After Storm of Swords was supposed to be a 5-year time skip, and he went back and wrote it for Feast for Crows and Dance of Dragons. And I feel like that's the same thing that's happened with Winds of Winter. It's like, okay, I've written all this stuff, and then it's like, oh no, I need to fill in a bunch. I need to like slow it down and figure out, like explain how I got from A to Z. And that's obviously not what the show did, but I feel like that's what slowed him down. Is that Winds of Winter was X, Y, and Z. And then I realized, nope, that's not going to work. I need X, and then X.1, X.2, X.3. And then the next book will be Y.1, Y.2, or whatever. Yep. I feel like that's the main thing that's happened.
Yeah, so do I. And I really do think that I'm like, it's going to be hard. Let's say they're 1,000-page books, which he honestly stays right around. So he's got 2,000 pages to wrap up everything that he has up in the air right now.
And there's no way.
I just don't see it. I don't see how that works, unless there's another just kill everybody part.
Right.
It is possible. But at this point, I'm like, can he earn it in 2,000 pages? Or he'd have to do it before 2,000 pages, because that's the end. And I felt like the Red Wedding is earned, is the thing. Like, oh yeah, if there's a lot of build to that point. So I mean, that's all it is. It's about it. Can he get to these points with earning it? And I just don't know. Maybe that's where he sits, and he's just like, I don't know how I do this. I'm sure his publisher would be like, write as many books as you want. We don't care.
That's what HBO was like. Give us 10 seasons. We don't care. And D&D was like, no, I want out.
They want out. They have other things to do. But they could hand it off. God, just hand it to someone else.
They could have handed it off, which is annoying. But I will also say, like, for amount of hate that D&D is getting, and I feel like I'm giving to them too for rushing and wanting to fuck out. At the same time, they started this basically, I feel like, with the promise, like, book 6 will come out before you're done, so you'll have more source material, and that never fucking happened.
Yeah, so never materialized.
They got the rug pulled out from under them as well. So I feel a little bit bad for them. I blame them. I blame Martin, for this uneven last 2 seasons. But in the end, this ending felt so fucking satisfying to me that I can feel good about it. And I didn't, before this episode started, I mean, that's partially why I fucking just started chugging this bottle of wine. Like, I'm not going to feel satisfied for this thing that just means so much to me. It's just going to break my heart. And instead, it was like, felt right. It really did.
I agree.
So I'm happy, which is not at all what I thought it was going to be. My wife was actually like slightly worried for me. She was kind of like, maybe not so much with the wine, maybe not so much, like putting all your heart into this. Like, let's just like step back for a minute, because she doesn't want to deal with the aftermath. But I think that I'm good. Yeah, I really am. I feel really good. I can't wait to rewatch. I really can't.
I need to rewatch this episode. I think it's going to take 1 or 2 more viewings this week for me to fully get everything and feel everything out of this. Right. But I agree. I'm happy. I feel content. If I never get an ending on the books, if they never come out, I at least feel content that I've seen what the likely ending of the books are.
Right.
At least in broad strokes, and then some very finer details as well.
And it's the first part, except for episode 2 of this season, that's just like, I finish and it almost all makes sense. Like, okay. And the rest of it just didn't make sense. Yeah. So that's enough for me, I think. And I'm sure I'm going to turn on the internet and Reddit and whatever. And
I'm sure. I already saw some Twitter. Some people were pissed off. They're like, it's weirdly, you're going to get people pissed on both sides. You're going to get like very viewers that are expecting like spectacle. This episode doesn't give a lot of spectacle.
Right.
Which I think there is a lot of people that watch the show for spectacle. And are going to feel probably disappointed because there's not grand battles or anything. It's just really another episode of a lot of people sitting around talking. And those are the best episodes for me.
Yeah, and I feel like the book readers are like, I want people talking.
I just want people sitting around talking because it's fun. I like these characters.
Yeah, no, me too. I want. I guess the thing we didn't say yet, we said it off mic, but like, I want the fucking Arya spinoff. I want her going west and figuring out what there is. I want that so bad. Like Macy Williams, come on, like just spend the next 10 years doing Game of Thrones shit. Like, let's see what that is.
Maybe one day Martin will write another book all about that.
Well, there was a blog post today where he's like, I'm working on Winds, but I was also in a writer's room for a show that I can't talk about. And I was like, is it the Arya spinoff? Is that ever going to happen? Probably not, but.
No, there's probably I know that there's a prequel series.
There is, and it's already greenlit. And
there was like 4 prequel series pitched.
But this is the one that got greenlit.
Greenlit, and I know it's about like really far back. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And that's fine. But that's not Arya, and that's something that's already known. So he would have mentioned about that. But this other one that's like not known, maybe I don't know. I think people would tune into that. So
yeah,
I don't know.
We'll see. I don't know if Macy Williams wants to be doing Arya for another decade.
Probably not. But I don't know. Seems like a good job.
Yeah.
Whew. Well, that was episode 192, where we are both very happy about lots of things, which is a departure from last week, I think.
I think so.
We're going to come back next week, and I think we're going to jump into our E3 predictions because, believe it or not, that shit is coming up fucking fast.
It is. A couple weeks. 3 weeks?
Oh, yeah. 2 weeks, I think. 3 weeks. So we're going to jump into that next week. But until then, this is 192. He's at Summer Speak. I'm at Prof Games, and winter has came.
Exactly.
Winter has come? I teach English. I should know this shit, but I'm a bottle of wine in. All right, guys. We'll see you next week.
Later, everyone.